I wanted to have a go at putting together a story for the Into the Nyxcverse comic. So Nixie has come up with this idea of involving her Discord community members, the most active ones, in a bit of a storytelling project, specifically a comic. And she's come up with some of these building blocks and some ideas on how to incorporate or what to include in the story. And I'm just going to have a go at turning it into a narrative and see if we come up with an interesting storyline. So, first things first. So, Nixie's working on the artwork, creative side of things as well. In terms of these, I guess, cornerstones to the story so far, she's come up with a few. So, first one is we've got entering into the Nyxcverse is the end goal of what the characters in the story are pursuing. So, the goal, let me just zoom in a little bit. Goal is to enter into the Nyxcverse. Also, part of the story is that Nixie's going to have a villain in this narrative, which is effectively going to be the bad Nixie AI. So the bad Nixie AI is the villain who the characters in the story need to defeat in order to enter the doorway into the Nyxcverse. So the villain is bad Nixie AI. The characters are Nixie herself, along with the most active community members in her Discord. She's also got that. What else have we got? We will come head to head with the Nixie AI alter ego, which is Nixie's alter ego, and battle it out, hopefully winning the fight at the end. So there's a battle with the Nixie AI. And the final part she's included as well is some form of a reference to one of the community members who has come up with this idea that they travel on a boat in this story. So, travel on a boat. The other part that we've come up with is including there's like an image of her that we put together where we photoshopped her coming through a virtual portal in a real world photograph. And it looks like she's coming from another world or she's going into another world. So that's kind of going to be the concept for closing out this story at some point. Like that'll be one of the probably one of the ending scenes. So ending scene with Nixie entering Nyxcverse via doorway. So that'll be really cool. All right, so not sure what the intro will be. So we've got an intro. We'll have a narrative. We'll have a challenge. We will have a setback. We will have, I guess, an overcome. Then we'll have a battle, I think. We'll go from overcoming to a hardcore battle, which is towards the end, and then win, and then ending. So on the ending, we can have characters enter the Nyxcverse. We can also have the doorway way into the Nyxcverse opens. So it'll have to open first before anyone can walk through it. So that could definitely be part of that story. The other part will be where this boat comes in to the picture. So maybe the boat is part of the that's like part of a journey, really. So maybe it's this here we need to somehow incorporate travel on a boat to a destination. I guess the question is, why would we travel on a boat? But maybe this doorway into the Nyxcverse is actually located at a dockyard, which is, yeah, that could actually work. So as an example, these are the pictures, these are the images that Nixie's put together with the comic art style. We might actually open this up. Copy image, pop this in here for visual reference. To shrink it right down. And if you look at this image, it looks like it's actually at a dockyard or near some sort of water, a body of water where a boat, a ship could pull up. So how about we use that as part of the story? So if we come back over here, travel to a boat on a boat to a destination. Probably the overcome will be traveling on a boat. So the narrative intro, introduce the characters. Just trying to think of what the battle will be. That the Nixie AI will appear, probably at the shipyard here. So Nixie AI appears, and the characters have to confront her, confront the Nixie AI. We have to figure out what is the win going to be in order for the doorway into the Nyxcverse to then open. So I think what should happen is that Nixie AI actually merges with Nixie herself, because that would be pretty cool. And the philosophical questions, if it's an evil Nixie AI, during this battle, the bad Nixie AI will turn into good Nixie AI. And then good Nixie AI actually merges with Nixie herself, which then means that the doorway can be opened. We'll have to come up with some of the philosophical reasoning behind that, but it seems to be taking the right direction. So let's come back here and have a think about, we need a bit of a challenge and a setback. So the challenge is probably narrative will be, we are told, a guide tells the characters where they need to go, which will be the dockyards, i.e. the dockyards is where the first, anyway, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. So is the doorway going to be the first one located at these dockyards, or like what's the relevance for having the dockyards? What's the importance? It could be some sort of historical port. At the dockyards / port is where the first doorway into the Nyxcverse is located. Or it could be where the doorway into the Nyxcverse is located. We might find out later that this is just one of many doorways. Maybe the narrative is that the Nyxi AI is closing the doorways. Why, philosophically, why would the bad Nyxi AI be closing the doorways? Bad Nyxi AI is closing the doorways. We need to come up with a philosophical reasoning for that. So a guide tells the characters where they need to go, i.e. the dockyards or port is where the doorway into the Nyxcverse is located. Bad Nyxi AI is closing the doorways, and we'll have to find the reasoning for that. So the challenge is, how do the characters navigate to the dockyard in time? How do we navigate to the dockyard in time? So the challenge is the setback in the, well, maybe if we go, the answer is to somehow get a pass onto the boat, get pass. So get a pass. With the pass, there might be some sort of special process that's involved, some sort of proof of ID, I don't know. Maybe one of the characters knows someone. One of the characters could come in and save the day here. Of the characters knows the boat owner. And gets access. Then the next challenge or setback is the boat something to do with the boat. Either it breaks down or it runs out of fuel. And then the question is who else on the team? Like what? We could have some of the other characters step up and do something. So we could do like a MacGyver scene would be cool. The boat runs out of fuel halfway in the middle of the night, or in the middle of the ocean. So maybe this time three of the characters of the work together to create fuel for the boat. So they're able to, I guess it must, maybe even having a time limit on this could be interesting. And the philosophical question could be, why is it Nixie's character could say, why is it that it seems so much of a challenge to be able to get to this portal to prevent the Nixie AI? Is the bad Nixie AI involved? So the Nixie AI appears and the characters have to confront her. Bad Nixie AI will turn into good Nixie AI. So the steps in between, I wonder if, yeah, I mean, we have to tie it back into the philosophical reasoning. So let's grab some reference images for the good and bad Nixie AI. So this is the good Nixie AI. And we'll grab a reference image for the bad one as well. So she turns good, but originally she's bad. She could be so powerful that nothing physical can harm her. I think then Nixie, all the other characters fall away. It's then up to Nixie herself to converse with Nixie AI. And this is where we find out in the story why Nixie AI has become bad as a character. Again, that's going to have a philosophical reasoning behind it, but I mean, that's shaping up to be a pretty cool story. So we'll end that there and see where it ends up.